All right, we have the Breitling Navitimer, the B01 in-house movement chronograph. This is one of the most beautiful watches I think that exists, and it's such a classic piece that dates back to the mid 1950s. Today, I have their newest version. This here is the 46 millimeter version, and I'll get you guys all of the measurements in just a minute. But before I do so, I just want to give a huge shout out to Saltzman's in Rhode Island. They actually lent this watch for review. So, when we take a look at the dial, this is actually their blue version, and it is beautiful. It really is. It's a sunburst dial, and as you'll see as we catch the light, that it does have that double-sided anti-reflective coating. You can take a look at the sapphire here, and it is actually a little bit domed, as we could see there. Also on the side view, you can see the Breitling logo with the knurling on the crown and the top hat type pushers as well. When we take a listen to the winding action, very quality sound, very tight tolerances, and you get that quality feel. When we activate the chronograph, very, very tight. You could tell there's some really good craftsmanship going on here with this in-house movement. We stop it, reset, snaps back. Now, as you'll be able to see with this timepiece here, when we activate the chronograph movement, that second hand there, the chronograph hand, it doesn't jump like a lot of chronographs. And that's because they use a lateral clutch. And that's something that you typically see in higher end watches. Well, I think at $10,000, I guess you can kind of justify that this watch is getting to be the higher level. But this is actually a mechanism that you see typically in even more expensive watches than that. So it's actually really good for just the fact that you're getting complete accuracy when you hit that, as opposed to getting that stutter in the beginning. This will activate immediately upon pressing, and then you can see it goes right back. Your running second hand is actually at the 9 o'clock position there, and as you can see, there is a slight step down on the subdials. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous watch. Now, I'm going to actually show you guys my Navitimer and show you how this one here is from 2007 versus this one, which is brand new, how they cleaned up the dial a little bit. It's less cluttered, so it's a little bit more contemporary, but it still gets the job done. You can still do calculations. This one here is a 41 versus 46. Now, I like the 46 for the reason of I can see, okay? I can actually do calculations, and I could actually see what I'm doing here, whereas on my watch, I struggle to see this, and it's your advantages of having a bigger watch, you know, and a true pilot's watch is typically bigger, with a bigger dial, bigger numerals, and that's so that, you know, when you look at it at a glance, there's no issue. Well, when you take a look at this big boy on your wrist, yeah, you absolutely will not have any problems in regards to legibility. Now, at the 3 o'clock position, that will track your minutes, and the 6 o'clock will track your hours. Now, what I like about this particular model over the one that I have is the date position. But not only the date position, but also the fact that you could actually change the date with this particular movement. Because this is an in-house B01, you'll actually have two positions on the crown. So the first position will actually change the date, and then the second position will change the time. Now, and of course I had to block it for you, sorry. Not a screw down, of course, which none of the Navitimers do. This one here, this is actually the AvgJoe 7753. And it's essentially a AvgJoe 7750, but turned to the side so that we can get the 9, 6, and 3 o'clock dials. And the drawback to having this particular movement is that we only have one position. So what that means is I have to go around, and I'm going to show you in another video how I can actually quick set this by cheating the crown by advancing, going back and advancing. So I'll show that to you in another video, but just wanted to just let you know that there's an advantage to having the in-house movement here. But there's also other Breitling Navitimers as well. You don't have to get the new one to get the basically the quick change date. So, but yeah, definitely an advantage there for sure. Another advantage you're going to get here with the 2023 B01 is the 70-hour power reserve. Now, that's an impressive power reserve indeed. And obviously, this is a power reserve that you can wear the watch on Friday, and on Monday morning, going back to work, the watch will still be running. What I also like about this new model in comparison to the older models are fully polished, including the bracelet, which I'll show you right here. So I actually took the bracelet off of mine, and this is fully polished, as you can see here. Now, when we take a look at the new Navitimer, they did something very unique. They actually alternate brushing, polishing, brushing, polishing. You still get the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 links across, just like this one here, but you're going to get that alternating polishing. You will get this screw links as well. And the one thing that I think a lot of you are not going to be fans of is the fact that they went with a butterfly clasp. Now, I'm not a huge fan of butterfly clasps. I can't really speak to sizing because this is a loaner. I'm not able to size this to wrist, so I can't speak on that. But I can just tell you from just a perspective of practicality, I just love the old style because they have so much adjustability. You know, here we have 4 micro adjusts, and it's just, you know, it's just one of those, to me it's more wearable. Okay, so there's your difference there. But as I stated, there's polishing and there is brushing on this watch, where the old ones are all polishing. I like the contrast here. I like the fact that they actually brushed aside, because that's going to take a lot of abuse. And you know, I have a Tudor as well, the GMT, and that thing is polished on the side, and it shows every scratch around. So I like the fact that they do this. It also gives it just a little bit, to me, more of a premium look, and I just prefer it when they can alternate that. So I think a really nice job on just the alternate polishing and brushing on this watch. Gives it a very unique look indeed. Love the red second hand, and obviously your 60 and 10 marker here with a little bit of red. Just that little bit of splash of red really makes this thing pop. Now, when you look at even the sub dials in comparison to an older model, the sub dials are even closer together, as you can see. So it does make it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. But at the end of the day, I know I said a lot of good things about the newer Navitimer. There's just something about the older ones that really have the charm that I like. I like the cluttered dial. I like the quirk of not having to have a quick set date, and I also just like the numbers on here too. I like seeing the numerals. That was one of my non-negotiables. I had to have the numerals on there because I wanted to have something a little bit different. So that's why I chose that one. But this is a really, really nice iteration of the Navitimer. As you know, from the mid-50s up until today, the Navitimer really hasn't changed much. You might see the subdials at 12, 9, and 6, and now we see them at 9, 6, and 3. You might have seen that configuration. You might have seen different variations, but at the end of the day, you got the white border, you got the bezel here that rotates along with the crystal. The crystal, this whole mechanism, the crystal to the bezel and the internal, that whole thing rotates, and you could tell it's got tight tolerance. So the rubber gasket is on there pretty tightly to the point where this thing is not going to move on its own, which I like. I like that. And I have to admit, the star of the show, which is something I wish that mine had, but let's be honest, my 2007 is not decorated even closely to what this is right here. And let's just take a look at the decoration on this one here. This is a beautiful, beautiful job. And I'll give you guys a better shot here, but look at this. Breitling went all out on the decoration of this particular movement, and it's a showstopper. I am definitely a sucker for a exhibition case back, and this one does not disappoint. So let me show it to you on wrist, and then I'll take you some measurements for you, and then we'll put this on the time graph, and then I'll show you guys some loom shots as well. So here it is on the wrist. You have to lock up this one first, and then this one will fold over. This is not one of those where you can fold it any way you wish, because this B logo actually goes over. So check that out. That will go over that. But I can give you an idea how it looks on the wrist, even though it is way, way too big for me. But 7-inch wrist, as you'll see, you have plenty of room. So if you have a bigger wrist than mine, don't you worry. You got you covered. But there it is on the wrist. So I have to admit, because of the dimensions, which I'm going to show you in a second, the watch doesn't wear as large as it seems. This is indeed a 46 millimeter, and I'm going to show you why in a second. Why it is indeed this watch wears smaller than its appearance. So, first and foremost, I'm not working. So let's see. I guess I have to change the battery, so I'll be right back.
A few minutes later.
But yeah, it's like a 45.6, so it's a 46. Our lug-to-lug is really, I think, what's going to surprise you, because that's what really makes this watch very wearable. And we're looking at it like a 51.25. So that's going to really lend itself to why it's wearing so smaller than it looks. And we're getting it right around a 14 millimeter thick, which is not too bad. It's about diver thickness. We're going to get a 24 millimeter width bracelet as well. Do we get any type of taper? I would have to say yeah. We're going to get a 20 millimeter there, so we got about 4 millimeter taper there. So let's pop this on the time graph and see how it's ticking. All right. And lastly, let me show you guys some loom shots here. What I'll do is I'll show you the loom shot of this one here, And I'll also sneak in a loom shot of this guy here. I had this one fully serviced, so I got brand new hands, brand new dial. So I'm going to show you what a new 2007 would look against a brand new 2023 would look like in a loom shot. So just curious myself, so I figure let me throw that in, why not? All right, so there you go, the Breitling Navitimer B01 Saltzman's Jewelers. Again, huge shout out, thank you for loaning this into the channel. If you're interested in this one, definitely let them know that I sent you. Let me know what you guys think down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'll see you guys next time on AvgJoeWatchReviews. God bless, my friends.